What's going on, Flicks Talkers? Welcome back to another movie review, this time for the film Becky, coming directly into your homes via Amazon Prime. Now, this film did come out June 5th, 2020. It has a runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes. It is rated R, and it's also an action thriller horror. Now, this film is directed by Jonathan Millet and Carrie Murnian. They also directed Cooties, which is one I have not seen, but heard a lot of great things. Just it's a wacky horror action type of film that I will definitely catch soon. And this film does star Kevin James, Joel McHale, and Lulu Wilson as Becky. And the quick synopsis for Becky is: a teenager's weekend at a lake house with her father takes a turn for the worse when a group of convicts wreak havoc on their lives. All right, guys. Now, if you couldn't tell already from that plot, this is the perfect recipe for a home invasion movie. So let's just jump right into what I thought about this story, the cast, my likes, and my dislikes. But before we get into all that, make sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up if you guys do appreciate movie content like this, as well as that subscribe and bell notification to get notified about my content as soon as it goes up. All right, guys, so what did I think of Becky? So first of all, I absolutely love home invasion movies. I don't know. It's something about them that I really have that guilty pleasure for. I think it's the realism of this could actually happen in any setting. I mean, whether it be in your own apartment, your home, it could be a cabin in the woods, which this does take place. And that is the creepiness factor of everything. You're really isolated. You're miles away from your neighbors or the highway. So you really have nowhere to go, especially on foot. And this girl, played by Lulu Wilson as Becky, she's so young, she cannot even drive. She doesn't have a driver's license, so she's kind of helpless to the mercy of these convicts. And that's what I absolutely loved, guys, is the vulnerability and the innocence of young Becky, or as we think she's very innocent, because she has a dark demon burning inside of her. And that's where the horror aspect of everything kind of comes into play. This film is extremely gory, so if you guys are gore hounds, horror fans like I am, I think it's going to satisfy all your gory tendencies. You guys are going to love it for that, as well as the thrilling aspect of it. Now, before I go more into detail of my likes of this film, guys, let's go over this cast. So Joel McHale, someone that we know from Community. I know him more from The Soup. I'm a little older, so he plays Jeff. He is Becky's father, and right out the gate, we get to see that they kind of don't have the greatest relationship bond of all. He's trying to make up for the fact that he is getting into another relationship, and he wants her to kind of welcome this woman with open arms into their family, but Becky is really hesitant. Now, jumping to Becky herself, played by Lulu Wilson. Now, I haven't seen this girl act whatsoever, so it was my introduction to her. I looked her up on IMDb. I saw that she was an Annabelle creation, as well as a Haunting on Hill House. She was there for a couple of seasons, so she does have some acting chops on her resume. You guys might recognize her, but like I said, once again, this was my first introduction to her, and she absolutely blew me away. I want to see more Lulu Wilson. I thought she was such a badass character. Very, very cool, but angry teenager, preteen. I'm really not sure if we get the exact age. She looks somewhere in the 12, 13, maybe even 14-year-old range. But, she really held her own when push came to shove, and we get a lot of shove in this movie. A lot of scenes that were just, gut-wrenching, and a lot of it come at the mercy of Miss Becky herself. Now, jumping to probably one of the biggest names and biggest draws of this film, he's on the poster, Mr. Kevin James, someone that we know from King of Queens. We know him from a lot of comedy Adam Sandler films, guys. In this role, he plays Dominic, and he's someone so far from comedy, it scared me. He plays someone that is fresh out of jail. He's a neo-Nazi. We get to see it from all the tattoos. You see it in the trailer, and he is out to retrieve something in this place that they are staying in. What? I'm not going to spoil it for you guys. You guys need to watch the film for yourself. But he does have this plan set, him and his goons. And jumping to the goons on a side note, you do get a generic bunch. I'm not really going to go over them. them, but there's about 4 guys that are rolling with him, his little crew, and they were kind of generic thugs. There was one that kind of stood out, but for the most part, they were generic thugs. Now, jumping over to the likes of this film, and something that I brought up earlier in this review was the gore. There was a lot of stabbings, a lot of shootings, and even though I think maybe I saw a couple of CGI bullets or, cuts here and there, for the most part, it looked extremely practical, especially the close-up shots of people getting stabbed. I thought it was really, really cool, especially a gorehound like me. I really love seeing the brutal kind of rawness of people getting, cut to pieces, so to speak, especially when they're bad guys or just bad people in general. I mean, you kind of focus in and you're trapped in this world of how is this little girl gonna escape or get vengeance or whatever she needs to do to kind of move forward past all of these obstacles. And she definitely does jump over those hurdles that are put in front of her to kind of save her family. And I absolutely loved it. Now, sticking with the likes, guys, is the character of Dominic, once again played by Kevin James. Now, I thought he was phenomenal in this role. I want to see more of him. We saw his boy Adam Sandler last year in Uncut Gems. This needs to be a trend where these funny guys, I don't know why they didn't do it sooner, but jump out of those roles, get into more of a dramatic, serious type of role. I think you guys are going to knock it out of the park. I could really see Kevin James expanding his resume a little more, even if it's direct to VOD. That's totally fine. He's getting his acting practice chops in. Maybe that's what he needs so we can eventually see him blossom on the big screen when theaters open again in a serious role like this. All right, now jumping to my dislikes, guys, was kind of the convoluted story. I mean, we got this retrieval of something that Dominic's looking for, but in the end, we didn't get too much explanation without getting into any spoilers, guys, really of what he was kind of looking for. So it was kind of almost that Quentin Tarantino, what's in the briefcase type of thing, leaving it up to your imagination of what could be out there, or whatever they're looking for. But yeah, that was one dislike of mine, as well as the missed opportunities of the music, of the score itself. For a real teensy bit, guys, we got to hear a little bit of cool synthwave going on, which actually really set the tone, especially in this wilderness environment when you had a lot of high tension stuff going on, but we only got to hear it very few and none. And I would have liked to hear a little more kind of pumped in there to amp you as you're on this journey that Becky's going through. And probably my last dislike, guys, and it may seem a little weird, but this movie was supposed to be very race tension based, and I didn't really see it too much, especially since this movie did start off with a lot of parallels of teens and convicts fighting each other and bullying going on. You didn't really lead to any of that later on in the film, and that's what kind of the stepping stone or the bricks laid for this foundation of a movie were supposed to be about, at least in my eyes. We saw a lot of, the Nazi propaganda tattoos on these guys. There was a lot of talk about brotherhood, yet I didn't really feel that when they were kind of conveying it to their victims. I think they could have went a little harder to make it a little more realistic. Think American History X, guys. Even though it's hard to watch that stuff, the realism in that movie adds to the emotion that you get, the impact in the end of this movie, so you can root for these victims, so you can root for the opposing villains. Get me? All in all, once the credits rolled, I actually really, really enjoyed this movie for what it was. It wasn't anything groundbreaking as far as directing or writing wise, but I liked it, and I could possibly see Becky becoming a little cult household name after you watch this for the first time. All right, guys, have you seen or do you plan to watch Becky this weekend? Let me know in the comments below. And if you guys did appreciate my review, please hit that thumbs up if you guys can, and make sure you hit that subscribe and bell notification to always get up to date with my video uploads. All right, guys, till next review, I'm gone. Peace.